So Tony, no conversation about Zappos.com seems complete without discussing the culture book. What is it and how was it developed?
So the culture book is something we've done for 6 or 7 years now, and basically every year I email all of our employees and ask them, what does the Zappos culture mean to you? And except for typos, it's unedited, so it includes the good and the bad, and it's organized by department, so you can see how the accounting culture might be slightly different from the warehouse culture. So kind of like when you go to Amazon, you might see customer reviews of products. These are essentially employee reviews of the company. And we make it freely available to not only our own employees, but to visitors or really anyone that asks for a copy. And for anyone watching that wants a copy, you can just email ceo@zappos.com with your mailing address, and happy to send you a copy for free. That's something that Jenn Lim actually has been involved with every year in compiling all the entries together and putting it into a bound book.
I think we're on our 7th edition now, and it was just around the time when Zappos decided to really focus on company culture and really make it the #1 priority. So it was an idea spawned from having drinks, as a lot of our ideas had spawned at the beginning. The idea is just to have employees define what Zappos culture means to them. So in their own words, we asked them to write 2 to 3 paragraphs, but I guess the interesting part of the whole exercise was that we weren't going to edit anything out. So the good and the bad is reflected in the book. So that's how the idea started. It was sort of a test to really say, okay, Zappos, if we're really going to commit ourselves to culture, let's ask our employees if we're really doing that.
And what did you find that first culture book? Were there any surprises or?
Not necessarily surprises. I think it was interesting to see what was going on at that time. It was like a little snapshot of the company. We could see the good and the bad, you know, how Kentucky is different from Vegas. I'm sorry, at that time it was in San Francisco. It was before we moved here. But so yeah, nothing too surprising, but what's been interesting is that over time, since we do it every year, is that you can see whether or not the culture is getting stronger or weaker because of the core values that we have as Zappos. We have 10 core values that we pretty much live and die by. And the fact that more through time, more of the core values kept on getting mentioned in different ways, both in a work environment and in their personal lives. So I thought that was really interesting.
So how often do you produce the culture book?
We do one once a year. And we do that because we want to actually see how things progress from year to year, and it's been really interesting how the first one was basically a 10-page pamphlet to now we have a 200, 300-page book every year. And so it's been interesting to see how whether or not whether the employees use actual terms within our core values, and if they've been using it more or less. And through the years, we've realized that by seeing those core values being mentioned more, it actually makes it feel that we have a stronger, tighter culture that's reflected in the not just in the business sense and everyday work, but also in the personal sense at home.
And so, how many employees did you have when the first year?
Oh, wow, I think it was just, I want to say 100, 150. Yeah.
So for all those people out there who are thinking, well, that's easy to do with 100, how many were in the last survey?
We had about 1,600. This year probably be, I would probably say about 2,000, 2,200. It's been a real interesting experience and almost a phenomenon, just because we started with this simple idea and seeing it evolve from just the culture book to essentially what seems like a brand book, because it really encapsulates what Zappos culture in a physical book. And since we send it out to anyone that asks for it, since we really stand by that whole transparency, we send it to people in Brazil and in Japan, and interestingly enough, we don't ship outside of the U.S. at all, but some of our biggest fans are international because of this sensation that, companies can really focus on people, companies really can focus on culture and still be successful. So I think that's why there's such an emotional attachment to Zappos as a brand, and I think the culture book has a little reflection of that, it's a physical thing that you can feel in your hand.